So as you all know, Outcome Memories released with 7 playable survivors and 1 playable EXE. And in later updates, they'll have many more of these characters to come. In today's video, we'll be going through every single survivor and EXE coming to Outcome Memories, including the private server characters. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's begin. First character we'll be talking about is Silver. Silver will be a support and staller. His first ability allows him to do Psych Beam, which grabs the killer. Then afterwards, if they click a button, you're allowed to chuck the killer away, which launches them pretty far. This means on a map like Not Perfect, you could just chuck them to the oblivion and they respawn on the other side of the map. And his second ability is kind of unknown at the time, but from what we can see, it most likely he throws terrain or something, stunning the killer. These 2 abilities are pretty cool, since it utilizes in the lore that he does have psychic abilities. It is unknown at this time if he'll have a glide or a fly ability, but I'm assuming he might. Also, kind of like Sonic with his dodge, Silver has Psych Energy below his HP bar. It is unsure how it's used at this time, but it's assuming you can only use so many abilities before it gets run out. And then you probably have to wait for it to replenish before you can use abilities. And once he's killed by 2011X, this is his death line.
The future savior doomed in another world's past.
Overall, he seems like a pretty cool character, and I can't wait to play him next update. The next executioner we're going to be talking about is Kolossos. Kolossos originates from another Roblox game that was taken down recently, known as Sonic.EXE The Disaster. He is going to be a slower EXE, but to make up for that, he does 55 damage per hit. He also has an ability known as Charge, which allows you to charge and impale many survivors onto your arm while running really fast. Second ability is known as Grab, where he's able to grab a survivor and start punching them, able to take them down in potentially 2 seconds. And his final ability is known as Indicator. Once he uses this, he's able to see where all the survivors are. He also won't have the ability to jump. So this might be weird on some maps, because I'm not sure how you're able to get up to certain areas because you kind of need to jump, but he will not have a jump ability. And his lore for coming to Outcome Memories was basically during one match of TD, he grabbed a survivor just as they're escaping and brought both of them to the void. Once this happened, they were sucked into Outcome Memories. Kolossos will also be coming next update in version 0.2, whenever that releases. Now, the next character up is Blaze. Blaze will be a mobility / stunner. As of now, we know how one of her abilities work and a presumed second ability, and we are unsure of any passives. Her first ability is known as Roundhouse Kick. Once she uses this ability, she kicks in the direction she's facing, and if she hits the EXE, she's able to stun, burn, and knock them away, basically hitting them with every single status effect known inside of the game. But if you use it in the air, you can actually use it as a way to bounce up, kind of like Amy's bounce ability with her hammer. Then the second ability is known as Flamethrower. As of now, we do not know what this looks like, but assuming it's probably like Eggman inside of Dimensional Coalescence. And when she dies to 2011X, this is the voice line.
The flames of the Soul Empire. Extinguished through conquest.
Also, she will have some lore of Alucard, but right now it is unsure what that will be. And with that, those are the 2 characters coming out in version 0.2 as we know of at the time. But we're on to the next EXE that's going to be added in version 0.2. This character is known as Tails Doll. Tails Doll comes from a creepypasta, but not much of noticed him other than now aside Outcome Memories, since he was just confirmed to be a character. For the longest time, he was deconfirmed. Because OMT was removed, they decided to add Tails Doll in his return. We do know that his abilities will not be like TD, so this means that he probably will have a fly, but he won't have abilities such as slash or trap. Other than that, there's not much more to be known of him, since we have very little information to go off this time. But one thing we can confirm is he will be added in version 0.2. Now, guaranteed to be in version 0.3, we have Fang the Hunter. Right now, he has no abilities shown for him, since he's still pretty far away from coming out. But since his nickname is either Fang the Hunter or Fang the Sniper, it's assuming he'll probably have a gun and long range abilities. This means he'll probably shoot the EXE and stunning him, or set up traps, kind of like a Trappist. And assuming that these are his abilities, it's most likely that he won't have any passives, and he'll probably have the standard 100 HP and average movement speed. Also, this is a voice line that occurs when Fang dies to 2011X.
Did you get him, Marksman?
But other than that, we have nothing else to say about him. And now we're on to the third EXE, Lord.EXE. Lord.EXE's origins come from Sonic PC. He is also the future version of 2011X, but they both exist at the same time. He's also a lot bigger than normal EXE, has an X on his chest, and has darker fur than normal. We know of 2 of abilities at his time. The first one allows you to basically make a fog environment and it'll hold the clones of yourself to confuse the survivors. And his second ability of known at this point is a charge ability, kind of like Kolossos and kind of like 2011X. But as of now, it is unknown if Lord.EXE will have a passive, his damage, and his speed. He is also scheduled to be added in the alpha versions of Outcome Memory, after Kolossos and Tails Doll. And for lore, Lord-X and the Allfather, which we'll be getting to later, are the only two executioners who came to Outcome Memories willing. The next person we're going to do is actually two, Ray and Mighty. Reason why we're pairing these two together is they're guaranteed to come out in the same update as long as EYX. The reason why is because in their lore, they're connected. Right now, we know nothing about their abilities or passives, but it's assumed that Mighty, since he is an armadillo, will probably have increased HP, but also one of the only survivors inside of the game will actually have a below average speed. He has also been described to be the strongest survivor in the game, so either means he'll probably have a lot of reduced damage and high HP, or he can stun a lot. And this is what happens when he's killed by 2011X.
Armored and everything, just to crumble to dust.
Then for Ray, like I said, there's not much known about him, but since he is a flying squirrel, it's assumed that he will have a flying ability, and he'll most likely be a support character. How he'll support, we have no idea, but he will definitely have a flying ability, and this is what happens when he dies to 2011X.
Glide your soul to the skies for a more interesting catch, rodent.
And assuming that these two will come out of EYX, the earliest that they can come out is either version 0.4 or later. But with those two out of the way, we're on to the next people. The fifth executioner is known as No More Innocence. No More Innocence is a ghost known as a yokai, which basically hides himself inside bootleg copies of Sonic. And he basically feeds on their addiction. What makes him interesting as a character is he'll have a copy ability, which means he can mimic any character inside of the game. There are a few differences though. First one is the head can turn in a 360, and their design is a little bit off. This means you can tell what's wrong with them, but if it's too late, then you will probably get attacked. He also has a weird TV mechanic where when you're using No More Innocence, you can only see around like a quarter of your screen. It's basically like you're looking through a TV screen, which is pretty interesting. Now it's unknown at the time of when he's going to be added, but I'm assuming that he'll probably be a slower character since he has Disguise ability, but also do higher damage since you can't really see much. Coming up next is Shadow, and we do actually have some abilities for him. Even though we don't know when he's going to be coming out, we do know one of his abilities, which is called Chaos Snap. Once you use the ability, you shoot 5 bullets at the killer really fast and then Chaos Snap before kicking the killer from behind. This will lead to being them knocked back and stunning them. It's also been confirmed that he does have lore of 2017X, so it's assumed that they'll both be added in the same update. But because we only know one of his abilities right now, it's assumed that he will just be a stunner. And he'll probably also have a Chaos Spear ability. And this is what happens when Shadow dies to 2011X.
There's only one ultimate life form. That would be me!
But other than that, that is everything we know for Shadow the Hedgehog. The 6th EXE is known as EYX. He comes from the games known as Sonic.EXE ROM. In his old lore, he used to be a computer virus, but now he's a weird jumble of parasites and stuff that choose to look like Sonic. He is also confirmed to come out with Mighty and Ray, so whenever EYX is going to be released, Mighty and Ray will also be released with him because of her lore. As of now, there is nothing known about how he plays, his speed, his jump power, or damage. But because of his size, he will be a lot bigger of a character. Next up, we have Rouge the Bat. For Rouge the Bat, we have literally nothing to go off of. The only things I can say about her is that she debuted in Sonic Adventure 2. Here is the voice line for when Rouge dies to 2011X.
Needed a hands-on demonstration that I'm a god, agent.
And because of this, we can assume that she'll probably be added in a way later version. And speaking of characters we know nothing about, let's finish off the Dark Trio with Omega. Omega will be the second robot survivor added. And for his abilities, guess what? We have nothing. But assume for his size, he will actually be a pretty big survivor. This meaning that he'll probably have average running speed or below average actually. Also, since Omega is so big, I'm assuming that he'll have an insane amount of HP. Probably not as high as Neo, but around 300 would make sense because he's probably going to be slower. Also, since one of his hands is a gun, we can assume he'll probably have a Gatling gun ability. And this is what it sounds like when he dies to 2011.
Reprogrammed to be a heroic entity. Made you useless.
But other than that, that is everything we have on Omega. But with that, we're on to the 7th EXE. This EXE is known as 2017X or Sonic. 2017X is basically an EXE that's so delusional, he thinks that he is Sonic. He will also have above average speed, but his damage and jump power is unknown at this time. And he will also be able to use his second form in Outcome Memories. This second form is called Broken Face, and is basically a lot bigger version of himself. But he'll most likely be one of the fastest killers, so he can gain ground on you very quickly. Next character up is Infinite. Continuing the trend, Infinite does not have any info on him. But since he does have a sword, it's assumed that he'll probably be a melee stunner. And this is what it sounds like when he dies to 2011X.
Yes. Yes, you are weak, Jackal.
And on to the next person. This executioner is known as Starved and Furnace. His speed will be a lot faster than most EXEs, but his damage and jump power is unknown. He will also be most likely releasing in version 0.3 for the amount of stuff that's already worked on him. For this executioner, it's actually a 2-in-1, so you actually have 2 people playing the same killer. This means that one person will be playing Starved and one person will be playing Furnace. And at the beginning of every match, you just choose the other person to play the other character. Furnace will most likely have a dash ability, weaker attacks, but is a lot faster than survivors. While Starved is still unknown at this time, since he doesn't have a design or anything. But I assume he'll be more trap based and do better damage at longer range, but is slower. For this, it'll be pretty interesting, because this is the first 2-in-1 killer, and I believe the only 2-in-1 EXE inside of the game. But now on to next one. Now, the next person up is Honey the Cat. This was actually one of the characters I never knew actually existed in the Sonic franchise. But other than that, all we know of her right now is the voice line for 2011X, which is pretty brutal, and I'll play it.
Declawed, gutted, and left to spoil like your name. Only, it was never sweet.
But assuming your character, she might be a support, but it's really just speculation. The next killer on the list is EXE, or Faker. Little is known of him at this time, but we do know he'll be using his Faker form. His Faker form is a huge version of himself, about 4 times bigger, but my biggest question is how is he going to fit on some maps? Because of his ginormous size, some maps, like UK Run, have inside areas, so how he fit inside there will be pretty interesting when they implement him. He'll also be the same height as EYX, which shows how big EYX is as well. But other than that, there's nothing else really known about him. Coming up next is End. He will be slower than a character such as 2011X, but his gimmick really makes up for it. He'll be most likely known for stealth, but what his ability is he actually has an HP bar. Now you might be wondering, why would an EXE have an HP bar? The reason why he's an HP bar is every time he gets stunned, he loses HP. Once he gets to 0, the last survivor to do that final bit of his HP will be instantly killed. Doesn't matter for HP or if they've been downed or not, they will be instantly taken out and he'll take over their body. So for being slower, if you're not careful with your stuns, there's a high chance you'll lose the game just because you stun him too many times. So this, you have to be very careful since you won't be able to see how much HP he has left. Only the killer himself is able to see how much HP they have. This means even though he might be slower, he has a very good gimmick that helps him out. Now, finally, for this part, we actually have 4 survivors going here, being Sally, Charmy, Vector, and Espio. The reason why all 4 of them are put here is they're most likely going to be the last survivors added. They don't even have voice lines for 2011X or even a model yet. It will be completely unknown of how they look or how they play at this time. This is why we grouped them all together, since basically, what else would we say? We do not want 2-second sections. Then, to our second favorite EXE, we have Genesis-X. Nothing is really known of him about the time, but the only thing we know is he'll be highly stealth based. This probably means that he might have long range attacks, invisibility, and a whole bunch of more things like that, which fit a stealth kit. He also might have the gimmick where when you're playing as him, you can only see in red and black. This means that some maps may be hard to traverse because everything's the same color. There's only 2 colors to choose from. But other than that, that's all the information we have on Genesis-X. And on to the next person. Next character we have is Korin or Korin-X. Shocker again, there is little information known about him, but he does have some traits. First one is he will be a pretty big killer, and he will use his sword in some manner. I'm assuming with this, he'll probably have an impale ability, and probably be slower than the average EXE, but have a lot longer of a range. This will mean he'll probably be a rusher EXE, but a little bit harder to use, since you might not have the best of speed, but you have a lot longer range. Is Sans the Skeleton. Sans the Skeleton has 400 dodge HP and 0 normal HP. This means in a regular match, if it's just a 1v1 versus a killer, you're pretty screwed because even doing 400 damage in a match of 2 is very difficult against him. But unlike Sonic, you can't actually charge the dodge meter. He also has 2 abilities known as Bone and Blaster. For these 2 abilities, you don't actually have to aim them, but you just have to be close enough to use them against the killer. When you equip Bone, 4 bones will fly around the killer before attacking them. If they don't jump or fall, it'll hit them and then a second bone comes out of nowhere and smacks them away. Then the second ability is Blasters. He spawns a whole bunch of blasters overhead of a killer, stunning them and knocking them away. Because of his high HP, he kinda just run for it. Now, continuing the trend of characters we know nothing about, we have Imperfect. Imperfect is the first character on the list that is an OM exclusive, meaning it was created for OM. Just like how Sonic.EXE is copying Sonic, Imperfect, instead of copying Sonic, is actually copying Sonic.EXE. It's like a copy of a copy. But the only thing we know about him at this time is that he's only copying the character 2011X. Other than that, I don't think we've worked on him at all except for his model. Now, coming up with a second OM exclusive, we have Suture. This is one of the first characters on the list that look nothing like Sonic or any other characters. Now, for the next character that is exclusive is Neo Metal Sonic. As stated by devs, he won't just be a private server exclusive soon for the upcoming Juggernaut game mode, but as of now, he is here. And the reason why he was added was for 100k players. And believe me, he is completely broken, having over 750 HP. He also takes a 50% reduced damage, and he has a punch ability which can perma-stun the EXE. This is literally the equivalent of what if Metal Sonic actually locked in. He also has a destructive charge where he goes really fast, and once you use it, if you grab the killer, you basically just teleport, that's how fast you are, and slam him into the closest wall. So if you're playing on a map like Not Perfect, you fly to the skybox basically. And he is also naturally faster than the killer, so you can just outrun them. He is absolutely hilarious, and I believe me, you have to try him out in private servers. But now, for a character that we do know some about, we have Sonic.EXE. That's right, we both have 2011X and Sonic.EXE, or Mr. Crimson. Sonic.EXE has nothing known for his time. He doesn't even have a model. But assuming it's Sonic.EXE, he'll probably have the same kit that he had in the original TD. He'll probably also play kind of like 2011X, since he'll probably be a close range character, and most likely have abilities like invisibility and grab, yada yada. Now onto the third out of the 4 original characters, we have Looney. Looney is based off the original idea for Sonic the Hedgehog, where instead of Sonic being the hero and Eggman being the villain, it was the opposite way around, where Eggman was the hero and Sonic was the villain. He takes the name of Looney or Feels, and he looks like a rabbit since that's what his original design was. But other than that, there's nothing else known about him. Now the next private server character is Frisk. Frisk is a complete survivalist, having 2 abilities that are able to help her out greatly. Her first ability allows her to heal up for around 20 HP since she starts at 99. Basically every 20 seconds you're able to heal up for 20 HP, which is pretty good. Now her second ability, known as CT, speeds her up greatly for around 7 seconds, but afterwards you're around slowed for 2 seconds. It also gives you 10 dodge HP, and this can stack indefinitely. This means during a match you can get up to 200 dodge if you're given enough time. Other than that, she's just a complete survivalist, kind of like Eggman. Coming up next is Alucard, which we know even less about. We have absolutely nothing about him. The only thing we do know is that he has some lore with Blaze coming from the Soul Dimension. Other than that, anything else is just speculation. Now for the final and most anticipated killer. Sonic or Rewrite. Rewrite was created as a way to talk to God in the 90s by a priest. But since he's a replication of God as an AI system, he's able to do whatever he wants. It is unknown at this time of any of his abilities, but it is assumed that would probably come out before the 0.5 update. He was also meant to be a secret killer coming out on one of the updates without any of us knowing, but since one of the previous devs were going to leak it, they instead just decided to say yes, he does exist. But at this time, there's no information about his abilities, anything if he'll have different forms, and there's no info on this time of exactly how he gets to outcome memories. But he does. For our next private server survivor, we have Clover. Clover's whole gimmick is actually pretty interesting. He acts both as a survivor and technically EXE. He has a level mechanic where if you shoot your teammates, you gain levels which gives you more dodge, more attack power, and longer stuns. But on the other hand, you are killing your teammates. He also has the same ability as Frisk was allowed to heal himself. So technically what we could do in a match is kill the rest of your teammates so you get a really high level, since this gives you many amounts of dodge, and since you attack way faster, you're able to stun the EXE way easier. But when you do this, you make the EXE jobs easier, since basically it's 2 EXEs, but you're technically a survivor still. He also has the gun ability, which basically you just shoot the EXE. Pretty self-explanatory. It is a little hard to aim, but as long as you hit your shots, it does stun for a pretty good amount of time. The first private server killer we're going to be talking about is Chara. Chara comes from Undertales and has around the same moveset as Dimensional Coalescence. This means she has a long range slash attack and she's able to save. When she saves, everyone's location is shown to her and you're able to run to them, and once the animation ends, time will actually go back. This means if you activate it at like free 13 and you use it and it goes down to free, it'll go back to 3 minutes and 13 seconds, giving you extra time. It also works as an indicator and you're able to attack during that time. And the slash ability allows you to attack at long range. She also has a very fast attack animation. If you're playing against her in a map like Not Perfect or Hill, you're gonna have a very big trouble because of how big her slash hitbox is. Next up for EXEs, we have V1. V1 is by far the most broken character that will ever come to the game. Instead of having normal attack like 2011X, he has a long range gun ability. This can go through any wall and do around 65 damage. This means you could two-shot many of the characters. He also has a dash ability which allows you to fly super fast as it has no cooldown, and a punch ability that only has a 0.1 millisecond cooldown, so you're able to keep punching super fast for 25 damage each time. While using him, you cannot be stunned by any survivor, and you also have an indicator to know where the survivors are. It's a good thing that he's staying a private server character, or all the survivors are screwed. Final private server exclusive character is Baldi. Baldi has 100 HP and 150 dodge, but once he gets hit, he gets progressively madder and gets a permanent speed buff. And kind of like Sans' attack with a bones, he has the ability called Ruler, where a whole bunch of rulers fly around the EXE before attacking him. Then, his next ability is called Place Notebooks. When you do this, if a killer hits a notebook you place, it's kind of like the original Baldi game, where you have to answer 3 math questions. His third ability is called Wow, and every time you use it, it just says wow with an echo effect. Believe me. Peak ability. Then his final ability is called Baldi Dance, where on use, Baldi starts dancing. Honestly, peak character, best out of best, 10 out of 10 character design. Now that is every character coming to Outcome Memories. It is crazy that there are this much characters are coming to the game and the private server ones that are already in it. If you want more content like this, make sure to like and subscribe. But anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you all liked and enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.